Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Before we go any further, I want to just quickly do a quick disclaimer and say that Bridging the Gap is a local producer here at PAC 14. We are not part of PAC 14, but we are very appreciative of PAC 14 allowing us to use their studio and, use their platform to bring forth information. The information we bring forth is not one that's going to be biased in any way, shape, or form, but we want to make sure people understand what's going on, whether it's in our community, whether it's in the government, wherever it is. We want to bring forth information. For those that watch the show, and you know me as for who I am, myself, I am a conservative. But when I am here on Bridging the Gap, I'm representing everybody. So that means that whoever the guests are very important people to me, to Bridging the Gap, and they should be to you. Whether they believe how I believe, whether they are, whatever. People are people, and we are very appreciative of everyone that comes on here and spends some time talking. The difference between misinformation or disinformation and pure information is whether or not we're ready to bridge the gap to talk to people that we may not normally agree with. So with all that in mind, we hope you enjoy the show. Once again, this is Bridging the Gap. All right, we are back, and we're back with my co-host, Colin McEvers.
Howdy, everybody.
Colin, how you been, man?
I've been pretty good. Just trying to stay active, trying to stay as busy as possible. So,
yeah. Tell us what you've been doing.
Well, lately, ever since the Charlie Kirk assassination back about a month ago now, September 10th, we've been going around the state. We organized a lot of vigils, like in Salisbury University. We did one in UMD, along with a bunch of different places in the community and communities across Maryland. And we actually recently started a TPUSA chapter at Salisbury University. So we've already gotten a board. I've become president of it, and we've gotten some people that are pretty competent and pretty encouraged and energetic to come in and be the board members. We have a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. So
structure.
We're getting structured. We have a really, really great Republican infrastructure at Salisbury University right now, which we haven't had in quite a while, just because it hasn't really, it hasn't been well organized in the past. But now we have a Salisbury University College Republicans that's very organized and very big. We have a TPUSA chapter at SU now, and also we have a pretty well organized Lower Shore Young Republicans chapter throughout Wycomico, Somerset, and Worcester. So we're doing really well. Things are looking good at the moment, to say the least. So.
Good. I want you to help me to understand more, and maybe some of our viewers, what is TPUSA, and how does that work there at the college?
So some people were actually a little bit confused about this initially. It's not currently affiliated with the university. We're not registered through the Center of Student Involvement and Leadership. We're not an official club or registered student organization at Salisbury right now.
Okay.
But what we are is we're chartered with the National Turning Point USA organization, and that's probably what a lot of you guys have been hearing about. The national level, Erica Kirk is currently the chairwoman of TPUSA, the national organization. So we're chartered with them, meaning that we have access to speakers, we have access to supplies, to those hats and posters, things like that. And that's really going to help us reach out and get more people, recruit more Republicans, get more conservatives involved, and really step in and make sure that these students or conservatives who are coming onto college campuses and these independents aren't further indoctrinated by the left-wing college establishment, which definitely exists. I mean, if you talk to any professor at a college, whether it be in a red area or a blue area in Maryland, most of the professors are going to be pretty left-leaning, and that kind of teaching kind of rubs off on the students. So we want to be there, and we want to make sure that these students are not being indoctrinated, and that's what TPUSA offers. We bring in speakers, we bring in supplies, we make republicanism and conservatism cool. So that's really what the TPUSA chapter is at SU. We're also going to be doing a lot of media stuff and publicity.
Okay, good. Thank you for helping us understand that a little bit more. Now, I noticed you said Republican and independents. Are there any Democrats that are interested in the TPUSA as you know of?
No, not necessarily. Not like yet. Involved in the club, but we really, really do need Democrats in regards to debates and competition and
Okay.
meaningful political discourse. Because if we just have a bunch of Republicans willy-nilly, oh, kumbaya, we love each other, blah, 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 it's not really interesting. We don't get the political discourse. So we really want to have some discussions and conversations with Democrats, far leftists, things like that, whether it be a professor or a student. You know, we want to have like the rational Democrats, but we also want to have like the blue-haired crazy liberals that you guys hear about, because those would be really cool for debates, for political discourse, for discussion. So we're not going to have any Democrats in TPUSA, because a lot of these Democrats are the ones that are like, you know, oh, not all of them, of course.
Okay.
But if you look at the stats, I was just looking at this poll actually that was taken right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, September 10th. It was about 47% of people between the ages of 18 and 40 who were liberal, who were either far left or liberal, who said that sometimes political violence was necessary, and 18 to 40 were conservatives, people who identified as very conservative or moderately conservative. It was only about 10%. So, you know, I'm not trying to say that it's mostly Democrats who were, you know, like in support of political violence when it comes to right-leaning figures who were assassinated, but at the same time, we have to look at the statistics, and the numbers don't really lie. So, to answer your question, we do want to work with Democrats in regards to debates and having conversations, but actual leadership positions, helping out with growing the club, they're not going to be interested in that, because we are inherently a conservative organization and movement.
Okay. Now, when you're saying inherently conservative, I mean, is it more like the traditional values and things like that they stick to? Or what are some of the things that TPUSA stands for that is considered to be conservative?
Yeah, definitely traditional values. I mean, we respect the fact that this country was built upon Christian values. I mean, which a lot of Democrats don't necessarily, or liberals, I'll say far leftists, don't really appreciate the fact that we were founded upon Christian values. I mean, you know, all our laws are moral in nature. Things like, you know, why is it that murder is such a crime? Why is it that, you know, the different things like that? I mean, it's because it's biblical in nature. It's moral. And so,
like that.
and also what we really care about at TPUSA and generally as conservatives, at least in my opinion, is the, you know, the two-parent household, family values, having a strong community. I mean, things like that are really, really important to having a functioning, like well-oiled society. Because if we don't have those things, if we just have a bunch of people who do not believe any kind of religion, atheists, people who don't respect religion, who don't respect culture, who don't respect tradition, then what we have is kind of a semi-anarchy in the United States, and people that don't really care about each other, that don't care about laws.
Right.
And so we really want to get in there and provide that balance for these college students. Because it's mostly the college students who really don't care about religion, who don't go to church, who don't care about these family values, who just want to, like, you know, have fun, get drunk all the time, you know, go out and party, you know, smoke up a couple joints or whatever. You know, I mean, this is mostly college students that, you know, need that kind of guidance, who need that direction, that aim. And you know, it's a very traditional way of looking at things. So that's what I mean by conservative, and we really want to spread that in SU and other colleges in Maryland. So.
You know, thank you. I find it very interesting that you're in your senior year, right?
I am, yes.
And instead of partying and everything, you're actually at RA, keep an eye on those that are coming in with the wrong thought pattern. So you're all about making sure things are disciplined. So I'm very impressed by that.
Yeah, I got all the partying and drinking done last year. No, just kidding. But yeah, no. So no, I think it's important, because people that, you know, focus more on building organizations and, you know, helping people succeed, which is one of the main goals of the College Republicans, both in the state, because I'm the chairman of the College Republicans in Maryland, but also like at SU, is helping people succeed, giving them advice and tips on how to network, how to do well in life. Because a lot of times, and, you know, Charlie Kirk said this a lot, that college is a scam. In a lot of ways, that's true, because they say, oh, you're going to come to college, you're going to be really successful, we're going to help you with a degree. You get a degree, you're going to be set for life. And a lot of people get like a master's degree, they'll have like 3 degrees, and they'll be like, hey, I can't find a job anywhere. It's because they aren't taught how to actually succeed, how to get ahead in life, how to network. Because a lot of success is determined on who you know, and networking, and kind of like talking to people, getting yourself out there. So that's what we're trying to, you know, like, relay to these students, that they need to be successful, they need to get out there, they need to network, things like that. So
This is exciting. And, I'm thinking back. It's been a few years since I've been in high school or anything like that. But when I was in high school, we had a Bible club. We had things like that. And then somewhere it all got lost in the sauce. I don't know. I wasn't really into politics then. But somewhere Bible clubs were taken out of high schools. Definitely prayer was taken out before I was in there, and I think they even took God out of the Pledge of Allegiance, and I noticed things did go haywire. So, I'm hearing there are some high schools that's getting involved with TPUSA and things like that. I do want to ask you, there on the Campus Crusades, is that linked in any way with the TPUSA movement?
not necessarily. We'd like to do some collaboration with Campus Crusade, or Crew is what they usually are called. They have like worships and they have prayer sessions and things like that, usually on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm. Been to some of those. They're good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. And I went to a couple last year, and very, very helpful. But mostly when it comes to faith with TPUSA, we have these TPUSA faith chapters. And tomorrow there's going to be this, I think it's at like 7:30 or something like that. It's at New Life Church. There's this guy named, the bald guy named Reverend Howard Travers, I think it is. Howard Travers, I think.
Yeah, I met Pastor Travers.
Yes.
He's also a chaplain at the hospital.
Yes. He's a really good guy, and he came to do the opening prayer at our vigil at
the vigil, yep.
And he's the like the director or the chapter president of the TPUSA Faith chapter in this area. So there's going to be an event there, but in regards to Crew, there's not much integration at the moment. And what I will say in regards to these public schools that are kind of like, throwing religion out the door, I mean, we have seen these local governments and these school boards and things like that just totally trying to divorce themselves of religion in the past couple decades. And, which is, I'd say pretty dangerous. I mean, obviously there's like, separation of church and state, and they try to, use that argument like,
we're separation of church and state.
Ago. Exactly. But, I mean, we can't, ignore the fact that America was founded upon, Judeo-Christian values. And I know there's recently been a difficulty with at the Wicomico County government with one of our friends, James Wynn, who tried to, pray or give a prayer in the
read
aftermath.
A couple of scriptures.
Exactly. Read a couple scriptures after Charlie Kirk was brutally assassinated, and he did this at the meeting, and he's gotten a lot of pushback. Apparently, at the county council meeting tomorrow, something might come up about that. And the fact that this is even an issue, that a county council person, that a local representative reading some scriptures, praying for somebody is somehow an issue. Is somehow something that we should be really upset about. I think it's just totally. I think it's really silly, the fact that this is even an issue. And I'm probably going to try and make it to the meeting tomorrow. Maybe give a public testimony.
I'll definitely be there.
I'll be there. I'm going to try to get some TPUSA people to come out too, and maybe stand up for James, because I mean, he had the courage to do that. Now he's getting pushback from these atheists, and so I think it's important that we show him support, and we tell the county council that there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, this was shown as a sign of solidarity, respecting the life and legacy of an American patriot. There's nothing wrong with that inherently. So we're going to try and get up there and really support James and kind of what he was fighting for at that moment when he did it.
Well, I want to add this, and I can tell that somebody watching this may go way in the wrong direction with this. I personally know both you and James Wynn outside of the political realm, being that, to God be the glory, I was able to be the one that baptized you in the water in Jesus' name, and James Wynn actually grew up in the same church that I'm a part of. I do believe that praying should be okay everywhere. Actually, my wife and I was at the ribbon cutting at the sheriff's office, and one of the very first things that Sheriff Mike Lewis did is say, we're going to open up in prayer, which he actually had a very, very great pastor that is related to the fallen Sheriff Deputy Corporal Hilliard, had him pray over it. But again, I want to say that it's very important to keep God in everything. And of course, people are not going to like this, I'm pretty sure. But I'm very much proud of both of you and James for standing up for the things of God, and like I said, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we're fighting on the behalf of our constituents and representatives in Wycomico County, and we're not thinking about God, and we're not thinking about how we can walk in the direction of the Lord, I mean, then we're not going to do a great job with fighting for people, because at the end of the day, it's really important that we have that in our mind, in the back of our minds, when we're fighting for these things, when we're trying to do a good job for our constituents and for the people of this county. And at the vigil that we had September 11th for Charlie Kirk, the last person who came up to give a few words was actually James, and he read a few scriptures, and afterwards he had a little conversation for about 30 minutes with a group of guys that were there, and he was offering to come and do a Bible study with them, to pray with them.
Yeah, he's all about Bible studies.
All about Bible studies. He's a very religious man, and he sticks to that, and he doesn't just say like, oh yeah, I'm religious, I believe in God. He actually incorporates it into his everyday life.
Absolutely,
and he
does.
Lives by it. So I really respect that, and so he did that at the county council. Now he's getting pushback, and there shouldn't be a problem with what he did.
Thank you. Okay, now when we come back, we'll be with a friend of ours also, Chris Bushoff, who is from South Africa, who has came here and he's gotten his green card, and we want to talk about immigration, and just excited to hear what he has to say.
Yes, definitely. I mean, he looks like me, but he's an African American, so he's a very cool.
I think he's a little shorter than you.
Yeah, he's a tiny guy. He's pretty short, but we don't give him slack for that.
If you heard the laughter, he's in the studio now. So we'll be back in I just want to take a few moments just to kind of give a background of how we got to where we are with Bridging the Gap. Bridging the Gap started about maybe 3.5 to 4 years ago, and it was because of the west side of the county. When I say that, I'm talking about down Nanticoke Road, the Quantico, Hebron, Weetipquin, Tyaskin, Bival, all those areas. When it first started out, it was because, first of all, I felt led by God to go back to where I'm from, which is in Weetipquin, to start a church. But when I got down there, I quickly found out there was a lot of things that was needed in that neighborhood. Yes, they needed a church, but they also needed ditches to be taken care of, and maybe the speed regulated a little bit. They needed a little bit of TLC. And I found this out by talking to the community. Long story short, we decided then to reach out to those elected officials that had something to do with down there. And uniquely, it happened to be during the election season. So, with the help of others, we were able to do a town hall at the Westside Fire Department. When we did that town hall, many people came out, rather elected. We had many from the county council that came out, but also we had those that were running for office, including our now county executive, Julie Giordano. So what I saw as an opportunity to voice what the people needed, it was also an opportunity to start informing them or informing the people down there that normally don't get to hear what's going on. And it was unique. It's just very unique because we were able to, just using my phone, able to do interviews with these elected officials and those that wanted to be elected. And that's where Bridging the Gap started. Since then, we've been doing interviews with many different elected officials, community leaders, and people in general. And we've been able to bridge the gap between misinformation and disinformation and information by talking to people, whether it be a Democrat or Republican or a pastor or whatever leaders they were. And I am excited that that did happen. I'm excited to see where this is going to lead. But again, I just want everybody to know where Bridging the Gap started. It never started out being an entity that was powered by any political party, and nor will it ever be, nor was it ever meant for my own personal agenda. You know, it was literally, I actually stepped away from what my focus was going down there, which was to start a church for a few, just to reach out to the community in a different way. And here's Bridging the Gap. So again, I thought it would be something that many would want to learn of where Bridging the Gap came from. So again, information will lead them to not believe the misinformation that we have some type of an agenda. All right, once again, this is Bridging the Gap. We'll be back soon.
Hi, welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Keisha James on the scene, along with the Boshoffs.
Boss-offs.
Boss-offs. I tried to get it right. You're good.
It was closer than the original introduction.
I call them family. I
Yes.
call them family. So, welcome, Chris and Megan.
Yes.
Welcome.
It is a
Welcome
pleasure
the
to
show.
be on the show.
Hey, man.
Yes. Can y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves? Crystal, is that how you say your first name?
Crystal, but Crystal
Crystal.
is, it's like Chris. If you have two Chris's, you have a Chris and I'm a Chris too.
Chris, too.
So that works. Yes, I'm from South Africa, moved here. Let me rephrase. I came and worked here on a seasonal visa back in 2023, where I met my now beautiful wife, Megan, and left as per visa instructions, left in October to go back to South Africa. Came back working for the same company in April of 2024, and then the relationship has just flourished ever since 2023, really. And so we decided we're gonna take the leap of faith, and we got married in 2024, and that's now, June of 2024, and now we're going up almost on a year and a half married.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Let me ask you this. Did you already have your green card when you got married? How did that?
No, I was still on it's called an H-2B visa. It's a seasonal visa, specifically, usually companies like amusement parks and things like that, which is where I ended up working, do these seasonal visas because they can't get enough staff to employ during the season. And so it's usually seasonal based, and it not H-2B is a seasonal based visa, and so I came on that, and we had to go through the entire process, moving me from the H-2B visa to the green card, and so.
Wow. So how long was the process altogether?
I think if we were diligent and sent everything, if we prepared a little bit better, it would have been quicker. But
Quick.
yeah, but it was still quick. I mean, we got married on the 24th of June 2024, and on the 23rd of June 2025, I had the green card accepted.
Look at
So
God.
It was so give or take about a year process of that 8 months. It was about 8 months that I wasn't allowed to work because look, there are very stringent stipulations on going through the process, which is absolutely right. I mean, I guess the main purpose of these rules and regulations, especially for instance as an applicant, you're not allowed to work until you get work authorization, is to ensure that Americans do get the first shot at work. I think it would be absolutely responsible to have an immigrant come in and just immediately be able to take any work. So it was tough, but the real strong one, honestly, was my wife. Because not only that she had to, she was the breadwinner, but also she had to be patient with me being frustrated that I can't work. But God's good, and we're here today. So
That's why he put the two of you together. He knew what he was doing.
Absolutely. He did.
Wow.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
So yeah, I guess that's the short and the long of my background, or our background, as we sit here today.
Okay. Well, let me ask Megan. Now, both of you coming together, were there certain things as he's going through the steps of getting his green card that was kind of like they were asking you questions as far as the immigration office? Did you have to prove that you two were actually married?
So we did have to do proof that we were actually married, but they mostly went for him since he is the immigrant.
Okay.
But when we had our interview on June 23rd, 2025, they really just asked him a lot of questions. So with the process, we actually hired an attorney. We went through Boundless Immigration. We sent all of our documents to them, so proof of text messages and that our relationship was.
Flight itineraries.
Right,
holidays,
things like that, because I went and
bank
visited
accounts.
him. Yep. So they already had all that information. And when we went for our interview, it was really quick, actually. We were maybe in there for 10 minutes. And most of it was him being asked if he's going to
Overthrow the government.
and things like that.
They asked him that?
Wow.
Yes.
I could see it.
To be fair, look, they do such extensive background checks. There isn't a part of my life that wasn't delved into, even as far as my parents. I'm not surprised if it went even further than that. So really, by the time that they do the interview, they already have the answers.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Of course, because they have to research you first.
Absolutely.
so for
They
them,
just want to see if things align up.
yeah. So
And
for-
I get that.
Yeah, and so for us, it was really just. I mean, I've heard stories. Even sitting in the break in the waiting room, I guess we had some. There were some instances where people would go in, and they would be split up, and then the one party would go in, and the other one would wait outside, and vice versa, and back and forth. Our process, we were lucky because we had a very quick process, but it can take long.
Right.
And I mean, there are a lot of stories going around, and even going through this process, people jokingly, how people want to use this process to get people over illegally.
Right.
And so, we were going in. Honestly, we weren't really concerned going in because we knew the
God got
integrity
us.
of
Right.
ourselves, and so. But I know that people do want to abuse a system that you're not going to get.
Yeah.
And that's why the way they do it is in place. And a lot of people don't want to understand that. They want to be able to do what they want to do, but in all things, there are principles and guidelines that we all must obey.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you're based about that, Chris, as an immigrant, because I mean, there's so many people that will say, like, we need to just like totally expedite the process. We need to get some immigrants over here. We need to just like open up the borders, get people in here legally. There's so many illegal people in the country. It just means we need to make it so that they become legal faster, like a couple weeks or like a month or something like that. Then we wouldn't have illegals. But it's like, well, then what happens, and you mentioned this, that Americans wouldn't be getting those opportunities first.
Right.
And, I mean, we should be allowing these American citizens to, they get the priority, and then people who want to come over legally, like yourself, are able to get opportunities if they work hard, and you're a hard worker, as we know. So it's just great that you can, talk about that, and that you're...
Right. Honestly. That you respect it.
Yeah, you respect the process.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We all know each other outside of the setting. We just left this about a year ago. Just over a year ago, we met at the folk festival, and the reason I was
You met who at the folk festival?
you.
Oh.
And so let me be more specific. The folk festival was around where the Republican headquarters were.
Right, right.
I mean, we had different opinions. It was effectively not necessarily far left, but it was definitely left versus right. Even though I'm an immigrant, politically, American politics is essential to world stability. So the way I grew up, I've always followed politics, always followed the states. Ironically, and this is just comes to show where we may have all our plans, but if God has a plan
God
for me,
orders our steps.
because I remember
yes, he does.
I was working in the UK, and I lived there for a year in Scotland, and a contract there ended, and so when I came back, I really tried to get back to the UK, and I always said, America, love America, but I don't want to be there. It was
And then you met the love of your life.
See, I didn't know what happened.
See how things change so quickly.
See, what happened was I was shooting for a contract back in in Manchester, which looking at their politics right now, I am so glad I'm not there.
No
The
shit.
agency called me and said, "Hey, the contract isn't continuing anymore." And I said, "Well, okay, having recently had." I wouldn't definitely not a fight, but having a conversation with God about me needing to relinquish control. I said,
Wow.
okay, it's obviously not His will. So what's next? And they said, well, there is this opportunity in America, in Ocean City, to be precise. And I can, between her and I can effectively draw a straight line from 2019 straight to her, how God ordained this entire process. But that's a conversation for another.
Wow.
But what I wanted to get to is someone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I saw a video of him and he explained, I honestly think it was on something like The View or something, but which is funny in and of itself. But he said...
Again, no shade.
He said that, you're a guest in the country, as an immigrant, you're a guest in the country.
Yes.
Now, neither of us here have children yet, but I know if I had to ask my mom,
Except for her. Us.
yeah, but it's if you take the country as your own home,
Right.
you wouldn't just let any stranger in.
Exactly.
Right? You would let someone in based on, the
Proof that they're not going to rob you.
Right.
This is
Or
where
kill
They
you.
contribute to the country,
Or kill
like
you.
if they offer like good things to the country.
I mean, like in
So
your
that's
house,
the thing.
I would let a stranger in if vouch. That's the word I was looking for. If someone could vouch for them or something, but I wouldn't just let a stranger in. But even if I have my kids and their friends there, it's not like I'm going to choose the friend over my child.
Exactly.
And then maybe if we continue down the storyline, when becoming a citizen, I guess, would equate to some form of adoption, then there won't really be a differentiation, and that's what it is. You don't, as a country, you don't want to just let anyone in,
No, you
because
have
then
to
you're going to have
protect.
the problems
Yes.
of everyone in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm all for the process. Sometimes expensive, but well worth it.
But it's worth it, yes.
It's worth it.
And wouldn't you want somebody to protect your home?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, there's so many in anything like TPUSA or anything. There's so much backlash, but in the reality of it all, wouldn't you want that protection? Wouldn't you want someone to look out for you and do what's best for you and your home?
And that reminds me of the kinds of things that they're trying to implement at the local level, with Julie Giordano and Mike Lewis, who were able to get the 287G program implemented in, Wycomico, which is basically a collaboration between ICE at the national level and like the Wycomico Sheriff Department, where I don't even think, they're not even like busting in the homes
No,
and
they're not.
doing raids. They're just like
Definitely
processing
research.
through.
Yes.
They're just processing
These are
through
things
records.
that you have to do. So
Exactly.
it's not about being like cocky or anything like that. This is what you need to do to protect everyone.
And what I will say is that in places like Kent County, I don't believe they've implemented the 287G program yet. There have been protests actually by different students at Washington College, among other groups. There's this thing called Friends of Chestertown, or Chestertown Friends, or something like that. And they're organizing these protests on like a weekly or whatever, bi-weekly basis, I'm not entirely sure, where they're protesting 287G that's been implemented in places like Wycomico, and they're basically pressuring the Kent County government not to implement 287G in their area. And it's like, why is this such a big problem? I mean, they're just trying to make sure that these different records are it's more efficient for these these county governments, for these sheriff departments to work with ICE to make sure that we don't have all these illegal immigrants in our county. I mean, it's crazy.
First and foremost, I believe there is massive integrity in doing the right thing. I don't see why. Going forward, we have to think. My apologies. We have to think of. We want to create the world we want to see our children thriving.
Indeed.
And if we mess up now, we're going to see this years, in the years to come. But I recall a story. I was having a party at my house, and my dad had strict rules with regard to weed. You're not going to smoke any weed, and. We in South Africa, your drinking age is 18, so
Wow.
there was alcohol and stuff involved, and
Wow.
my parents were fine with all of this because rules were being followed. But when someone smoked weed, my dad took him home, and this was probably upwards of 45-minute drive, but took him home. You see, the thing is, there were rules,
Absolutely.
and the rules were broken. There were strangers in the house.
Wow. Right.
But it was the one that broke the rule that was reprimanded, that was taken on. And if you apply that, if charity starts at home, and how the house is, that's how the country is, in my opinion.
a good
So if you take this small and expand it, I mean, no one here, I don't think any follower or watcher or anyone for that matter would just let a random stranger in and let them run amok. So my personal opinion on anyone that is advocating for illegal immigrants, open your own doors. And then,
Oh my.
Let me ask you a
That
question.
doesn't happen. You know, we see like Martha's Vineyard. Back in like 2022, Martha's Vineyard, they took a bunch of like buses of illegal immigrants and they just dropped them off at these like
Wow.
liberal like gated communities, and the liberals were like, what the hell are you doing? Like, we don't want these people here. Like, get them out. Like, it's like, you see that they don't want them.
Right.
It's like,
right.
but they're the ones that are like, on Facebook being the social justice warriors saying, we need to like open our borders. It's like, don't be so racist. And then when they get there, it's like, oh wow, okay, well now you see the problem. And that happened. It's like a double
easy to-
standard.
So when that happens, who do you blame?
it's
Well, let me ask you a question. When we met, because I mean, like you said, we all know each other outside here, because we all now go to we all go to church together,
Yes.
which in heaven is going to be the same heaven no matter what color you are, if you make it. If you can't get along on this side, you're not going to have to worry about it over that side.
Whatever political
But-
party you're with, all of that.
but when we met, what was it that made you say, I want to check out where they go to church at?
It's funny. We the week before, we just came off of working season work, so you didn't have time for church, but we were talking back and forth, and I really wanted to be part of a community. I am a foreigner, and I didn't know it. And my big thing was that I wanted to, because we were talking about making this our home, I wanted to be involved, and I wanted to better my community in whichever way possible. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to start with a church. And so the week prior, this was effectively a 3-week process, I'd say. First week we spoke about we wanted to go to a church, but we didn't do anything towards it. The next week, the Saturday, we were...
Pumping gas at a gas station.
and then what?
We had 2 girls come up to us and invite us to church.
Yeah.
And it was also a Saturday, and then Sunday was the next day.
Yeah, and
No, go ahead.
we didn't go. And the Saturday, you said, "Hey, why don't we go to the folk festival?" And that's where I learned that the Republican
headquarters, and that's where he wanted to go.
So, and the moment we walked in, and we started talking, as you know. The moment you realized that I was an African, you said, "I think you handed to an acquaintance of ours." Keith, and you gave him the phone. You said, "Hey, take a photo, and take a photo with my African American friend."
He's the African American. I'm a little farther out, but I'm also African American, but he's more.
And I was laughing because I was making the joke, about being African American. On all my papers, I filed it white, but African American. And then we started talking about church, and my argument was straightforward, that if this is the personality that comes with such love and that's something I want to be part of. And so the next,
It's almost like we both felt accepted from the first
Right.
conversation.
Well,
we
your
had.
family.
Yeah, and we felt it.
Friend now. I like, for me, because I'm way older than you guys, I'm like, you're my kids.
Yeah.
What is
You're
that?
not way
12,
older.
12 years at most.
12 years, yeah.
No, and then we went to church, and I remember going to church was actually an interesting thing, because the church that she's from a Baptist background. Now, I initially was something similar to that, and then I moved to Apostolic or something in that denomination, and so. When we went, we had the conversation about me having to dress up, and I was I think I was in joggers and something like that. And she
Come
was,
as you are.
Exactly,
and
and
my-
that's mainly your heart, but
and-
yeah.
But, no, but my argument was that if a church only opens their door to me because of how I'm dressed, I don't want anything for it.
exactly.
So I was vetoing the church, and to this day, when we walked into Risen Life, and Pastor Mackey has become a phenomenal friend of ours. When we walked in church, you went from stranger to family, and
Yes.
you
Soon as
entered
you-
those
yes.
doors.
Absolutely.
And how many times have you worn a suit?
It was,
He's wore a ponytail more. Man bun.
it was my first suit was gifted to me at the men's conference.
Yeah.
We were talking about changing your attire, changing the way you dress, and so it was actually by a dear friend of ours, Prince. He bought me my first.
Who's also he's from West Africa.
He's from West
yes.
Africa.
Shout out to Prince.
So you got the black and the white African.
And so he
Talk about
bought it,
diversity.
and I remember the first time I walked in church with you. You were more ecstatic than I feel like I was.
I love people.
Yes.
Because you can see it's the outward change
Yeah.
is what you see. You already see the inward change, but then by you showing up in that, it showed that outward
Yeah.
change.
I
And
think-
that change also went down to you, Megan. I mean, your convictions and
Yeah.
when we first met, Megan had piercings in her nose, and it was like, okay, but no one told her to change. God put that conviction upon her heart, and even speaking with me one-on-one, she was like, God's laid it on my heart to take these out, and I'm like, okay, whatever,
That's what God's
whatever
telling
you
you.
want. I'm not going to say, yeah, you better do it.
Right.
No, because that's not how God works. He's a perfect gentleman, and that's
Exactly.
how we all are.
Yes.
We have to treat people with love.
And see, that's one thing I'm hoping that the viewer understands. It may seem on the outside like, him being not from America, that he's, he hates immigration and don't want to do anything right. But if you truly just allow things to go the proper way, God has a plan for everything. All of us have different backgrounds. I mean, from Colin to Chris over there to Megan and my wife, we all come from different backgrounds, but we were all made by the same creator. And if we can just allow ourselves to just do what we need to do and do what's right
In all things.
in all things.
In all things.
Structure. I keep saying the word structure today because it just keeps coming up in my mind. Again, with Bridging the Gap, yes, we do talk about political and community, but at the foundation,
It's
if you
a
look
biblical
at exactly, if
foundation.
you look at any of our shows, we always bring it back to God, and that's what it all comes down to. So yes,
Starts and ends with God.
yeah, absolutely, as my wife just said.
I'm a big metaphor idiom guy. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And as we started the process, obviously the joke was running around. You're far better off just jumping the board. This was obviously,
Oh my!
But we left it at a
obviously-
joke.
Yeah, this was.
That'd be a
It's
kind of-
okay to joke.
That'd be kind of a
God
long
is
border
really
being from
funny.
Africa to America.
No, but that's
You're
how-
tall enough, you can just step over.
Because it's not an easy process.
Yeah, I mean,
so it was very frustrating.
Especially, yeah.
But in the end, it's worth it.
And God was with you because I know of a person who is married and they're still not here, and it's just under 10 years. So it is a process, but you have to do everything right,
See-
so you guys were truly blessed to have everything done within a year's
yes,
time.
absolutely.
The thing when I was getting to with regards to what's good for the goose and the joke that we made was the fact that if either you have everyone step over illegally or you have everyone do it legally. You cannot have it both ways.
can't have in between.
Because you're going to have, it's going to create this form of jealousy. And as we know, the line of jealousy sets through to envy, and envy sets through to hatred.
Preach.
And and you're going to
Bitterness,
end up
wow.
having a nation that takes each other to the throat. More so than what we have now, which that I have some opinions with regards to politics, but this isn't necessarily a politics chat right now.
It's not?
But it's the joke that we made, is we're going through the process, and we both had to hold each other up at sometimes,
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
And
Of course, it
someone
was frustrating.
Yeah, and someone can just walk through the border and get, more liberties and more privileges than even citizens can. You cannot. At some point, it's gonna give, and who ends up getting hurt? So it's either you have everyone do it legally, or you have no one do it legally.
Yeah, but by doing it legally as well, you get that security.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
You ain't got to look over your back everywhere you go.
exactly.
Right.
Look over your shoulders, excuse
Yeah, we
me.
never did. When I started roaming
Right.
around in the vicinity, it never bothered me one bit.
Because you already had your mind focused to do it the right way.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly. You have
Wow.
that security.
Wow. Wow.
Well, we thank you guys for coming on
Yes,
today.
absolutely.
And giving us
And it's
your
good to
story.
have my original co-host, and always will be
Yes.
my co-host, Colin, back.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was great to be here. Thank you.
Seriously,
Wonderful to be here, actually.
I just we stay in contact a lot, and sometimes I try to text him and tell him take a nap. But this young man, you're going places.
Yes.
Chris, Megan, you're going places. Just keep doing things right.
Keep
and
allowing God to order your steps.
that part especially. That part especially.
Look, something both Colin, myself, and Megan have in common, and that being you guys. You guys have been phenomenal mentors and parentship. Being
friends.
having especially friends. Having from my side, having my family upwards of 8,000 plus miles away.
Right.
And the 6 now almost going on 7 hours time difference when we switch over. It's nice, and it truly is a privilege to have these father figures, these parental figures, someone that we can go to, and we've walked the path over the last year, and it's truly been
Blessing.
an honor and a blessing,
Yes.
to say the least.
It's
Family.
exciting to see it grow. We
Wow.
love you and appreciate you so
We love
much.
you.
Yeah, all of you, all of you, truly. I mean,
Yes, son.
Thank you.
one big family. Again, Colin, you want to take it out?
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you, everybody, for watching Bridging the Gap. We hope to see you next week on our next episode. And
Which will be actually the executive decision. We will have the county executive.
decision. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Forward to that one.
Always looking forward to that.
Thank you, Chris and Megan. Bushoff, I don't know. we're just gonna say. We're just gonna. We're just gonna say.
Don't do the H.
Bazioff or something like that. Anyhow.
That's good.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Have a great one.